On a foggy morning on October 8, 2009, Bobby and Sherilyn Jamison, along with their 6-year-old daughter Madison, were preparing to embark on a journey that they hoped would change their lives. The family was set to visit a plot of land in a remote corner of Oklahoma, dreaming of a new beginning away from the hustle and bustle of city life. They planned to purchase 40 acres in the San Boys Mountains and move there to live in a large storage container they already owned. At first glance, the Jamisons seemed like an ordinary family, but behind their calm exterior lay dark clouds. Both Bobby and Sherilyn were receiving disability benefits and, according to friends and acquaintances, struggled with mental health issues. Sherilyn suffered from bipolar disorder, which may have exacerbated the situation within their family. Despite these challenges, they sought seclusion and peace, dreaming of a life in harmony with nature. On October 8th, they set off in their white pickup truck, taking everything necessary to inspect the land and perhaps even stay there temporarily. Surveillance cameras near their home captured the couple's strange behavior. They repeatedly went in and out of the house, loading items into the truck, their movements appearing mechanical and emotionless. In this video, Sherilyn also placed a brown suitcase in the car, which was never found later. Several days passed and no one had heard from the Jamisons. Their absence did not raise much concern among friends and relatives, as the family often retreated into seclusion for days without informing anyone. However, on October 16, 2009, hunters stumbled upon their abandoned pickup truck on a deserted road in Latimer County, just a few miles from the intended plot of land. Inside the truck were the family's personal belongings: wallets, cell phones, a GPS navigator, and $32,000 in cash. However, the family was nowhere to be seen. Their dog, Maisie, was found barely alive, emaciated, and frightened. These findings baffled investigators. Why did the family take such a large sum of cash with them? Why did they leave all their belongings in the car? The questions multiplied, but there were no answers. The investigation stalled, and the mystery of the Jamison family's disappearance became one of the most puzzling modern-day enigmas. Investigators began meticulously examining the scene, and soon uncovered more oddities. For instance, they found an 11-page letter from Sherilyn to Bobby, filled with anger and frustration, suggesting potential conflict within the family. Additional clues, such as the strange surveillance video and accounts of spiritual and mystical experiences, only deepened the mystery and added more questions than answers. Amidst all this, the story of the Jamison family turned into a real enigma, shrouded in secrets and speculations. What really happened to Bobby, Sherilyn, and little Madison on that fateful day? The mystery of their disappearance, filled with numerous theories and guesses, remains unsolved, leaving relatives and investigators in confusion and despair. The Jamisons were an ordinary family, albeit with their peculiarities. Bobby and Sherilyn both received disability benefits and often retreated to secluded places to enjoy nature away from the noise and bustle of city life. They planned to move to a remote area near the San Boys Mountains, intending to live in a large storage container they planned to install on their land. When their pickup truck was found, the clues inside were perplexing. Phones, wallets, GPS, cash, all indicated that they did not intend to leave the vehicle for long. But why did they never return? Surveillance cameras captured the family loading items into the truck, their movements strange, almost trance-like. In this video, Sherilyn also placed a brown suitcase in the car, which was never found later. The investigation into the Jamison family's disappearance quickly became complex and convoluted. Questions multiplied, but answers were rare and unclear. One of the initial theories was the possibility of family conflict. In the car, investigators found an 11-page letter from Sherilyn to Bobby, filled with anger and frustration. This led investigators to consider the possibility of a family conflict that could have led to tragic consequences. Bobby and Sherilyn were known for their strange interests and hobbies. Before their disappearance, they told their pastor that they saw spirits in their home and even asked him for special bullets to deal with them. Sherilyn also bought a satanic Bible, although her friend claimed it was a joke. However, these strange details added to the mystery and concern of the case, complicating the investigation. One of the theories was the possible involvement in drug trafficking. The $32,000 found in the car seemed suspicious, considering the family lived on disability benefits. Investigators speculated that the money could have been related to drug transactions. However, no evidence supporting this theory was found. Investigators also did not rule out the possibility that the family could have fallen victim to a random act of violence or robbery. However, despite thorough searches in the area where their pickup was found and numerous interviews with local residents, no concrete evidence or witnesses were discovered. Gradually, the case began to be surrounded by myths and rumors. People speculated about supernatural involvement, cult activity, and even alien abduction. But despite the strangeness and mystery of the case, investigators continued to diligently search for real, tangible evidence that could shed light on this enigma. With each passing day without new leads, the mystery grew more entangled. Investigators organized large-scale search operations, including the use of helicopters, search dogs, and numerous volunteers. The area was thoroughly combed in hopes of finding any traces of the family or clues that could shed light on their disappearance. However, despite all efforts, no significant discoveries were made. Another important detail was the Jamison family's tendency to isolate themselves and avoid close contacts with others. This created additional challenges for the investigation, as friends and acquaintances could not provide enough information about the days and hours leading up to the family's disappearance. Their habit of seclusion and desire to live away from civilization could have played a fatal role in this tragic event. Investigators also considered the possible role of mental illness in the Jamison family's disappearance. Sherilyn's bipolar disorder and Bobby's possible mental health issues could have influenced their behavior and decisions on that fateful day. However, this theory also did not provide concrete answers and only added another layer to the overall picture of the mystery. During the investigation, new strange details emerged. For instance, it was revealed that Sherilyn was involved in a legal dispute with a former partner who might have had motives for revenge. Additionally, strange items such as books on magic and occult symbols were found in their home, suggesting possible involvement with occult practices or groups. Despite numerous theories that investigators tried to verify, none provided conclusive answers. The complexity of the case was further compounded by many pieces of evidence that seemed contradictory or led nowhere. The family's mental state, conflicts with loved ones, strange behavior on video, and the found money all created a mosaic that could not be pieced together into a coherent picture. Meanwhile, the public and media actively discussed the case, offering their versions and hypotheses. The story of the Jamison family became the subject of numerous documentaries, articles, and television programs, which only fueled interest in this mystery. Despite all the attention and efforts, the case remained unsolved, and unanswered questions continued to multiply. One of the most dramatic aspects of the case was the discovery of $32,000 in cash in the car. This find became one of the biggest mysteries of the investigation. Why did a family living on disability benefits carry such a large sum? Some speculated that the money could be linked to illegal activities such as drug trafficking, which might explain their disappearance. However, no concrete evidence supporting this theory was found, and the question remained open. Investigators also did not rule out the possibility that the family could have fallen victim to a random act of violence or robbery. However, despite thorough searches in the area where their pickup was found and numerous interviews with local residents, no concrete evidence or witnesses were discovered. One theory involved possible strangers or passers-by who could have caused the family's disappearance. However, no traces or evidence supporting this hypothesis were found either. Throughout the investigation, investigators also considered the possibility that the family might have been involved in criminal disputes or accidentally caught in a crossfire. Despite these efforts, no specific evidence or witness testimonies indicating criminal activity in the area on the day of their disappearance were found. This aspect of the case remained one of the most puzzling and unexplained details. Other theories discussed during the investigation included possible involvement in strange rituals or occult practices. Investigators found books and items related to magic and occultism in the Jamison home, which might have indicated the family's interest in these subjects. Some testimonies also suggested that Sherilyn and Bobby might have been involved in mystical groups or cults that could have influenced their behavior and decisions. Despite all these hypotheses and theories, investigators were unable to find concrete evidence that would help solve the mystery of the Jamison family's disappearance. Their disappearance became one of the darkest and most enigmatic chapters in the history of criminology, leaving many questions unanswered and spawning numerous rumors and speculations. Each new theory and hypothesis turned out to be either unfounded or contradictory. Despite the many efforts and resources invested in the investigation, none of the versions provided a definitive answer to the question of what really happened to the Jamison family in October 2009. The tragedy of their disappearance and the subsequent discovery of their remains left many in bewilderment and deep grief. During the investigation, investigators paid attention to every detail, including the items found in the car and home, surveillance footage, as well as witness and friends' testimonies. However, all these elements remained fragmented and did not form a coherent whole. Some investigators speculated that the family might have fallen victim to a series of tragic coincidences that led to their deaths, but this theory also remained unconfirmed. Furthermore, some researchers put forward hypotheses about the possible involvement of third parties who might have taken advantage of the family's vulnerable state to execute their criminal plans. These hypotheses were based on the fact that the family lived quite isolated and had certain conflicts with others that could become a motive for the crime. However, no concrete evidence supporting this theory was found either. Investigators continued to consider all possible versions, but each new step only added more questions and provided few answers. Other theories considered included the possibility that the family might have fallen victim to natural factors, such as a sudden flood, rockfall, or even a wild animal attack. However, thorough searches in the area where they were found did not confirm this hypothesis. Ultimately, despite all efforts, the case remained unsolved, and investigators acknowledged that each new version only complicated the investigation. Questions about what really happened to the Jamison family on that fateful day remain unanswered. The mystery of their disappearance and death continues to intrigue both professional investigators and enthusiasts of mystical and criminal stories. Their story has become a symbol of unresolved mysteries and human tragedy that still lingers in the minds of many. Thus, despite all the efforts and resources invested in the investigation, the Jamison family case remains one of the most mysterious and unexplained tragedies in modern history. Each new discovery only adds more mystery, leaving investigators and the public bewildered and deeply grieved. It took 4 long years since the Jamisons' disappearance before hunters accidentally stumbled upon the skeletal remains of 2 adults and a child in the woods, just 3 miles from where the pickup was found. These were the remains of Bobby, Sherilyn, and Madison. The condition of the bodies was so poor that determining the cause of death was impossible. The autopsy revealed no signs of violent death, although Bobby had a small hole in his skull that could have been a bullet wound. Despite the discovery of the bodies, answers to key questions about what happened to the Jamison family remained elusive. Investigators could not establish whether their deaths resulted from a criminal act, an accident, or something even more mysterious. This left room for numerous speculations and theories, from ritual killings to failed drug deals. The Jamison case remains one of the most mysterious and disturbing mysteries. There are more questions than answers, and numerous theories, ranging from an accident to a cult or drugs, have not provided a clear explanation. Despite the investigators' efforts and public interest, fueled by numerous documentaries and articles, the truth about what really happened to this family remains undiscovered. For the Jamisons' relatives and friends, this case became not only a mystery but also a heavy ordeal. Losing loved ones without knowing the circumstances of their death creates an emotional trauma that remains an unhealed wound. Despite all the efforts put into the investigation and numerous attempts to reconstruct the events of that fateful day, the case remains open, and the questions remain unanswered. Society and researchers continue to be interested in this story, and each new fact that comes to light fuels interest in this mysterious case. Perhaps someday the missing pieces of the puzzle will be found, shedding light on what happened to the Jamison family. But for now, this case remains a symbol of unsolved mysteries and human tragedy, reminding us of how little we sometimes know about what is happening around us. If you enjoyed this video and want more such investigations, subscribe to our channel and give it a thumbs up. Your comments and support will help us continue to uncover the most mysterious and unresolved cases.